What's going on, ladies, gents, and kids of all ages? It's Eric coming back at you once again from the Nerd Cave, and today we have a great episode planned for you. Not only are we going to be doing another deck breakdown video, which I know you guys have loved so much in the past on a deck that I'm pretty excited about going into set 4 because I think it's really finally becoming viable as a competitive option. So definitely stick around to see what deck we talk about. But today is also the drawing for the final Treasure Planet playmat. As of right now, maybe we'll do another one in the future, who knows? So stick around for that. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so we're going to be giving that booster box away very soon. Entries for that will close off once we hit 1,000 subscribers because we'll be getting ready to record that video. So if you want to get entered into that, make sure you're dropping a comment below on this video, a comment on the video before this to get an extra entry. Every comment that you drop on every video up until that happens is going to get you an entry to win that Inklands booster box, so stick around for that. But without any further ado, let's get into today's deck tech on Brooms of Doom. Alright, so the first card we're playing in this deck, we are running 2 Rafiki Mystical Fighter. Whenever he challenges a Hyena ability, literally never matters because nobody's playing Hyena, but he is a 0-2 for 1 with Challenger 3, so it's a great tech option. He obviously is not a broom, but we needed some other 1-drops in this deck. Another card I would potentially consider if you want to go even a little bit cheaper on the build is Fortisphere, which could be really good and does also cost 1. That is another card from the new set that when it comes into play, you draw a card as an item. Cost 1. When it comes into play, you draw a card and you may pay 1, I think, and banish it to give one of your characters bodyguard until your following turn, which can be pretty solid if you're playing a deck without bodyguard characters. So we are running 2 Rafikis, and we do have 4 1-cost magic brooms, 1-2 for 1. Whenever you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. So people have been talking a lot about playing this turn 1, playing Yensid turn 2, which is definitely an interesting tech option. However, I do think that that may not be the best option because you're actually going to end up in a position going into turn 3 unless you have a 1-drop broom and a 2-drop broom, where you're not going to be able to quest in with Yensid for 3. However, you could also do something a little cheeky in this deck and get Yensid back in your hand with only a quest for 1. We'll talk about that more a little bit further in. There's a great option, kind of like a Chernobog's Followers, but obviously it synergizes with the other magic brooms. And if you do have the Mickey Mouse Sorcerer in play, it actually costs nothing. And this is kind of an interesting tech option in this deck. I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the long term. I do think it's kind of funny for now. Pay 1, so it's a 2-cost item, Sorcerer's Hat. Pay 1, tap it, name a card, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, you get to put it in your hand. Otherwise, you put it back on top of your deck. So 23 cards of the 63 cards in this deck are magic brooms. So you can pretty safely just say magic broom and you have about a 37% chance of hitting one. And that just increases further down the line when you're doing some stuff that's putting magic brooms in your deck while not putting the other cards back in your deck. So that can just increase your chances of hitting magic broom with the Sorcerer's Hat. Then we are running 3 copies of Mickey Mouse Standard Bearer, 1-3 for 2. When you play this character, chosen character gains Challenger +2. He only costs 2, and he is a potential shift target for Mickey Mouse. I do think, obviously, Crab is a better option because he gives +3 and does it when he comes in and when he leaves for most decks. For this particular deck, I think this Mickey Mouse is a great tech option, a good shift target, and definitely functions well with the brooms, being able to make them a little bit stronger and let you take something out kind of unexpectedly. In the next card in the 2-drop slot, we are playing 2 Magic Broom Aerial Cleaner. During your turn, it gets evasive. It's a 2-3 for 2. That's why I'm only running 2 of them. They're not overly exciting. However, they are going to help you deal with some of those evasive targets. If you have somebody playing evasive, it's always good to have a solution in the deck for that. I would have played more of these if it weren't for the fact that I'm playing Steel and I have access to direct damage also to deal with evasive characters. So these aren't a 100% requirement, but they're a magic broom, obviously synergize, and with Mickey Mouse in play, they only cost 1, which is pretty solid. In the other 2-cost broom, I am playing 4 of. We got Magic Broom Bucket Brigade, when you play this character, you may shuffle a card from any discard back into its player's library, which is just fantastic. People don't really think about the fact that it doesn't just target your graveyard, it also can target your opponent's graveyard. So if you have somebody playing something like Underworld or Hades and they're doing some recursion stuff, Perdita, things like that, you could actually potentially take away their target. Or, moreover, and what it's really designed to do in this deck is to put some of the cards in the deck that you want to be able to recycle and play again, like potentially Whole New World or some of the other big bombs later in the game. And it's a 2/2 for 2, much like all the other Magic Brooms with Mickey in play, it costs 1. And we do have the Man of the Hour, the VIP, gets the first slice of the PIE, Yen Sid, powerful sorcerer. When you play this character, if you have a character named Magic Broom in play, you may draw a card, and while you have 2 or more brooms in play, he does quest for 3. So this is kind of the combo people have been talking about with the 1-cost Magic Broom. You play that turn 1, play this turn 2, you go ahead and banish your 1-cost Magic Broom, and Yen Sid triggers, so you actually are able to draw 2 additional cards on turn 2, which is pretty crazy. And he's a 1/3 for 2, which is a decent stat line. He at least doesn't die to like everything. Then we are playing 3 Strength of a Raging Fire. I think this is a really good removal option in any deck that's heavily character based, especially with inexpensive or mid-range characters, because you can get a lot of value out of it, and it's also singable. I think it's a great removal option. There is some Song hate still definitely seeing play in the meta, so there may be an argument for playing something like Smash that's a little more guaranteed value and can't get sapped out of your hand. But if you know you're playing against hate, I would say definitely mulligan these cards early or be prepared to ink them as opposed to trying to play them on turn 3 or 4 when they're probably just going to get sapped out of your hand. But great removal option. This is kind of an interesting one that I did choose to run 4 of. I may tweak the numbers on some of these Magic Brooms, but we got the 3-cost Magic Broom Big Sweeper. While this character is at a location, it gets +2 attack and it's a 1/5 for 3. I know I sound like a broken record, but with Mickey in play, this card costs 2. 1/5 stat line for 2, even in the mid game, is pretty good against most things. Rapunzel's typically difficult for people to take out. Hiram's typically difficult for people to take out. They do have 6, but 5 is still pretty big. And like I said, if you're at a location, he is actually looking at being a 3/5 potentially for as cheap as 2, which just feels really solid. And he is inkable, so if he's not good, ink him. And part of the reason that we play Magic Broom Big Sweeper, I do run 3 Sorcerer's Tower. This has no passive lore gain. It doesn't give you 1 lore or anything like that, so that's the reason I'm only playing 3 of these and not 4. Probably be playing less if they weren't inkable, but since they're inkable, I think 3 is pretty good. But brooms can move there for free, and characters get +1 lore while they're there. So that includes all your characters, not just your brooms, but brooms are the ones that can move there for free. It's 2 to move in otherwise, which is kind of pricey, as we've seen. 2 move-in cost locations don't get a ton of love in the meta unless they have trickery to get stuff in there sooner. But you could take a massive lore swing, so you have 3 brooms on board even, and your opponent thinks you're going to go ahead and quest for 3 or 4 if you have a broom that quests for 2 out, and then all of a sudden you drop the Sorcerer's Tower, move all your brooms into it, and you're getting an extra 3 lore on that turn, kind of out of nowhere, which could be a pretty big lore swing when you're only questing to 20. So I think this is definitely a great card for a broom deck. Like I said, 23 of the characters in here are brooms. Speaking of which, we do have another broom in the 3-drop slot. We're running 3 Magic Broom Industrial model. So this is a 2/3 for 3. When it comes into play, you give a target character resist +1, which is fantastic. Can help you to get a favorable attack in without losing a character. This deck has a lot of things that it can do that are just going to kind of keep your opponent guessing. They're going to maybe make choices where they think, oh, this is going to be favorable, this is going to be fine. If they attack and they lose their character, then all of a sudden you give one of your characters resist, and that may not be the case. So you can definitely do some sneaky shenanigans with this card. You know, get it out for 2 with Mickey in play. Then the next card in the 3-drop slot, tried and true. Said it once, I'll say it 100 times. I think this card has a place in any Amethyst deck personally. You can sing it, which is just ridiculous value with any of the 3-drops. This deck is particularly heavy on 3-drops. There's a ton of cards you can sing this song with, and draw 2 cards. More cards is always better. So Friends on the Other Side, still a staple. Next, we do have one of our few non broom characters and non-Mickey characters. I think this is our only non-broom, non-Mickey other than Yen Sid, and that is Madam Mim Fox. We have 3 of them. When you play this character, bounce a character to your hand or banish her. She does have Rush 4/3. I think everybody's pretty familiar with the Fox. She's been a staple in the meta since set 2 when the Merlin and Mim package dropped. Still just a fantastic card, and you do play several cards in this deck that do have come into play effects, so you can take advantage of those multiple times with her. I'm not playing the Merlin package for the come into play and leave effects, but I still think she's a great option out of 3 of to just get a sneaky rush attack on somebody when they think you're maybe not going to have access to this card because you're just playing brooms and Mickeys. And this is one of the few 1-ofs in the deck. We are playing 1 I Find in My Platinum. I think this is a fantastic tech option. 1-of, I think, is kind of the place you want to be with it, because there's definitely going to be games where you're not playing against somebody who's running items and the card is effectively ink. It's not really something you're going to want to play. This deck actually has 2 items in it, so if you're playing somebody with no items, it's worse for you than it is for them, so it just kind of becomes ink. But it does let you banish all items. It is be prepared for items, and it is a song. You can sing it with some of the 4-cost or higher characters in the deck, so definitely worthwhile to have in there in case you need that nuclear option, and you're drawing enough cards with this deck that I think 1 is fine. Next card in the deck, obviously everybody saw this coming for a broom deck, but I am playing 4 Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer. Your broom cards cost 1 less. That's the main takeaway from this card. Pretty massive in and of itself. It does quest for 2 and cost 4, which is fantastic. You're probably not necessarily going to want to quest in with him though, because it's a card you really don't want to get removed from your board. And whenever one of your broom characters is banished in a challenge, so it does have to be in a challenge and can't just be from direct damage, but one of your characters is banished in a challenge, which you're going to definitely be doing attacking with this deck, you're going to be able to go ahead and return it to your hand, so that can be fantastic. Bouncing a character and playing it again, using it again over and over again can be really overwhelming for your opponent if they're not drawing a ton of cards to keep up. And our other location in the deck, this is another reason I'm not running 3 of the tower. I am running 2 Queen's Castle. I think everybody knows what Queen's Castle does, but this is a 4-drop, 1 to move in, 7 health, which is fantastic. Gives you a passive Lorcana of 2 at the start of each turn, and for each character that is there, you are able to draw an extra card at the beginning of your turn. I've had games, as some of you know, I'm mainly a Ruby Amethyst player in the previous sets. I've had games with set 3 Ruby Amethyst where I was able to get 2 or 3 characters into Queen's Castle at a time that they couldn't contest it and draw 3 or 4 cards at the beginning of my next turn, and it's truly overwhelming for your opponent, and you very seldom are in a position where you're going to lose a game when you're doing that. Our other big card draw, and something I think is pretty fun in this deck, we are playing 3 Whole New Worlds. I am running 3 instead of 4. There is an argument for 4, but this is a fairly character based deck. I want to quest in and be fast. I don't always want to put more cards in my opponent's hand, and also you never want to have 2 Whole New Worlds in your hand. I find that when I have 4 in a deck, getting 2 in my hand happens more than I would like, and I don't know why it hates me. So Whole New World is a fantastic card. I think everybody knows what it does, but Wheel of Fortune, like from Magic, each you and your opponent discard your hands, draw 7 new cards. Always going to be good, and it's particularly good in this deck if you are going for a mill option, because you are able to shuffle some stuff back into your deck with some of the cards in here, including shuffling Whole New World back in to be able to play it more than 3 times throughout the game and potentially deck your opponent. And then we are playing the other big song from set 1. Some decks have had this go out of favor. I still think Grab Your Swords is a really good option. I think we're seeing more aggro decks and more decks with stuff that are low to the ground, more people playing things like ward characters. So having something that isn't going to have to target a character and can deal 2 damage to everything is great. There is an argument for playing Tinkerbell. Just thought Grab Your Swords worked a little bit better in this deck, and I have some good options to sing it with, so still a great card as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not a 3 or 4 of anymore in anything except for maybe Steel Song, and even that I don't think is playing that many currently, but still a really good card. And this is one of our options to sing it, and one of our great ways to make use of Whole New World and decking our opponent without decking ourselves. This card deck is running 63 cards, so even if you aren't shuffling stuff back in, we are a little north of 60 to help with not decking ourselves when we're decking someone else. But when you play this character, you may shuffle all brooms from your discard back into your deck. So if you have a bunch of brooms in there, you're going to be able to fatten your deck back up. It's also going to help you with something like the Sorcerer's Hat that we were talking about earlier, because with that you are going to be able to guess the card on the top of your deck. If you're shuffling a bunch of brooms back in and not shuffling your other resources back in, you've increased your percentage likelihood of just saying Magic Broom and hitting one and getting to draw it. This card does also have Rush and Quest for 2, so it's a 5-drop 4/4 Quest for 2. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to say it one more time. With Mickey in play, this costs 4/4 Rush. That Quest for 2 coming out for 4 is pretty gross. We're getting down to the last couple cards in the deck. We do have Mickey Mouse, Playful Sorcerer. This is Shift 3. This is also the reason we're playing the 2-cost Mickey Mouse over Crab. He does have Resist 1. He has a 3/4. And when he comes into play, you can deal damage to target character equal to the number of brooms you have in play. It is worth noting with this character the way that the card is worded. He does say deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of broom characters you have in play. He doesn't say you may. So as far as I can tell, that is a required ability. So keep that in mind. You do want your opponent to have a character in play when you're putting Mickey Mouse Playful Sorcerer down, because if you don't, from what I can tell, you do actually have to deal the damage to your own character, which is clearly not a thing that you would like to do. Still, great option. You just, play it when your opponent has characters out. The last card in the deck, we are running 2 Magic Broom Brigade Commander, 2/6/4/6, Quest for 2, Resist 1. It's kind of a situational card, which is why I'm only playing 2 and not more. But coming down for 5, it does get better. And if you do have Magic Brooms in play, it gets +2 attack for every Magic Broom that's in play. So this could potentially be a 6/6, 8/6, something like that. But it can still die to direct removal. So I don't know how relevant the super high attack is. So I'm kind of testing it out. Maybe it'll turn out to be really super good in the meta, and I will increase the numbers of this card in the deck. Maybe not. TBD. We're gonna have to wait and see. But that's the deck. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment below, and make sure you're sticking around because we are about to do the giveaway. So without any further ado, let's jump over to that. All right, so here we are with the prize wheel. As you can see, we did have 71 entries this time, which is awesome. You should see your name on the list here. 71 entries overall, but without any further ado, let's get it spinning and see who our winner is. This is for the Treasure Planet playmat. Next giveaway will be for the booster box. And we've got our winner, Warriors with Diabetes. So definitely drop a comment below this video to claim your playmat. Big congratulations to our giveaway winner. Thank you so much to everybody who supported the giveaway, who commented to get entered, the folks who are subscribing to our Patreon. If you want to check out the Patreon and you didn't win this playmat, you want to get this playmat for yourself, definitely pop over to patreon.com. $10 for our highest tier, and as a reminder, all of our Patreon donations do go directly back into giveaways on the channel. So if you want to see bigger and more robust giveaways, that is a great way to help us achieve that. We are coming out of pocket for a lot of giveaways, so the Patreon helps a ton. So thank you so much for the folks who take the time to support that. It means the world to me. But thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you see those toys, video games, and fantastic broom decks off in the distance, it is not a mirage.